All right, my friends, here we go. I'm going to put your paper just like this. This is your paper. All right, and we're going to learn information. Now, the information that we're going to learn about is for science, and it's for something called matter. What's it for? Matter. And we're going to learn, because you're heading into the upper grades, we're going to learn something called the periodic table. What's it called? Periodic table. Okay, and it's something really important to understand when we talk about matter, because the periodic table is something that is going to relate to it, that you're going to learn about, okay, at a real high level as a scientist. So I'm going to use lecture notes to help you tell about the periodic table, but you're also going to use lecture notes to learn how to write information. So on this paper, there's going to be 3 parts. What parts do you think there's going to be?
Introduction, body, and conclusion.
Excellent. You are absolutely right. Now, I don't want you to write anything yet. Sometimes when I give lecture notes, I have to tell you something that you already know in order to make you understand the new information. That won't happen very often, but sometimes the information is at a really high level that if you take something you already know, it'll be much easier for you to understand now. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's put this here. Hi, girls. We just got started with this one part, so you can just follow right along, okay? There you go. So right over here, what we're going to do is I'm not going to have you write yet. I'm just going to show you something. Have you ever heard of a recipe? Yes. Yeah, right? We all know that. So I'm going to look at when you make something, what you need to have many times a recipe. And on that recipe, the first thing that's going to start out is that you need what? Ingredients. And when you have ingredients, do you need to have, can you just go into the kitchen? By the way, where do you go in the house to get food, to make food? The kitchen. So let's say that this is the kitchen right here, okay? So when I go into the kitchen, can I just grab any ingredient to make something? Like let's say I want to make a cake, or I have to have certain ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to go in, and when I grab those ingredients, I'm going to grab as much as I want, or do I have to have a certain amount?
Certain amount.
Okay, so let's say I have ingredients and they say 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of flour, a tablespoon of 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. So they're going to tell me all these different things, right? Maybe 2 eggs, that type of stuff. Now, when I get those ingredients, are they in one spot in the kitchen or are they different spots?
Different spots.
That's right. So let me go ahead and do this. One spot may be the refrigerator because they're perishable. They could rot, right? What would be in the refrigerator, guys? What ingredients?
Eggs.
Eggs, milk, right? That type of thing. What about if I add flour? Would that be in the refrigerator?
No.
No. So those are going to be dry ingredients. So that's going to be up in the cupboard where you have like flour, sugar, that type of stuff. And then if I wanted to put something fresh in the cake, and let's say I had a garden, I could go outside and I could have like carrots that I could put in my cake, right? So I'm going to have my ingredients. I'm going to go to different places and in the kitchen to get those ingredients, and I have to measure them out. There's only a certain amount. Now can I just throw them together and poof, I have a cake. Is that going to work? What do I have to follow?
The directions.
The directions. They're going to tell me, first you're going to do this, then you're going to do this. So I'm going to follow the directions. I'm going to stir, heat, maybe cool, I don't know. And then whatever I make, and in this case, I want to make a cake. You see that? Because you know what a recipe is, you're going to know what the periodic table is. Are we ready? Okay. So I'm going to go like this just because this is a picture of the periodic table. Okay. Do you see that up there? That's called the periodic table. What is that called?
Periodic table.
Okay, so we're going to learn something in science, in matter. We're going to learn about matter, and we're going to learn about the periodic table of matter. Are you ready? Okay, so we're going to learn about matter. I'm going to have you do what I do with college students. They don't let me get away with just saying, oh, we're going to learn about matter and the periodic table. Put your hand on your hip, point at me, and say, what's the big idea about matter? Give it to me.
What's the big idea about matter?
Okay, excuse me. So I'm going to have to put my big idea right up here. What's my secret formula for the big idea? Oh, stop being so fast. You're like SS light bulb. Put it up there on the top of your paper. Look how fast you guys are. What was the first S for? Setting, and setting tells us? And I don't need to tell you time or place, so I'm going to put an X on that. Ooh, look how you're just writing that down on your paper. You see that? Now go over to the second S and go subject.
Subject.
Say, who or what is this information about?
Who or what is this information?
Okay, put a circle there. Put a squiggly line and another squiggly line. Oh, let's put like a tree there and some water and maybe a person. Okay, and that's the planet Earth. Now, when we look at the planet Earth, and when you were younger, okay, what you learned in science when you were learning about matter is to look at everything in the world and either say that everything is either living or non-living. So you'd look at this table and what is it? Living or non-living?
Non-living.
What are you?
Living.
What is a butterfly?
Living.
What are my shoes?
Non-living.
Non-living, okay? So when we're looking at anything in the world, when you were little, you were told living and non-living, okay? But now that you're in the upper grades, what we call everything in the world, whether it's living or non-living, is matter. Write that down really quickly. Okay, put your hands up. Let's say this, because college students never take notes and keep going. They always keep reviewing them, okay? So we're going to go back and review these notes. And do you notice how I'm only putting ideas down? I'm not writing out sentences or anything, am I here? I'm just putting down quick pictures and ideas, and then I'm saying the words to make sentences. Do you see that? So when you make an organizer, are you writing out all your sentences or key pictures, key words? Do you see what we're doing? Okay, put your hand up. Let's do this like a living thing, like a tree. Ready? All living things, and then let's make a rock and say, and non-living things. Turn to your buddy and say it so far. Ready? Go. All living things and non-living things. And you want to do the teacher thing? Go like this. Also known as matter. Ready? Also known as matter. Okay, say the whole thing now. Ready? Go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter. Okay, go over here and say, what's the big idea about matter?
What's the big idea about matter?
Okay, I want you to make this shape just like this. And that is supposed to be the periodic table up there. Do you see up there on our screen? It doesn't look exactly the same way, does it? But it's close. It kind of looks like this, huh? We're going to look at all living things and non-living things, also known as matter, okay? Now, over here, we're going to say are made up of. Let's put made up of. Now I want you to go back to what you already know, all right? What is this cake made up of? It's made up of what? Ingredients. We know the exact ingredients that made that.
Cake.
And where did the ingredients come from? Your
Kitchen.
Well, guess what? This periodic table, so matter is made up of, and then we're going to put this, elements. Ooh, let's put a circle with a drop box. What is this board right here? Is it living or non-living?
Non-living.
But it's still what?
Matter.
Matter, because matter is anything, huh? It's everything. So what are my shoes?
Non-living.
Non-living, but what is it? At your grade level, you're going to say it's?
Matter.
And what is it made up of? The
Elements.
The elements are like when you have ingredients to make something. But these are the elements that the scientists discovered. These are called elements, and they make up. So when I put elements here, I'm going to put like these are like ingredients, like a scientist would have. So elements are what? Ingredients that make up.
Matter.
So anything in the world, everything, this table is made up of what, everybody? Ingredients. And what do scientists call the ingredients?
Elements.
What is this board made up of?
Elements.
Elements, which are like ingredients. And the scientist does not put the elements in your kitchen. Sorry. You know where the scientists show the elements? On the periodic table. So the periodic table, let's put like a little circle, and let's put the drop box right next to it. is like the kitchen. But whose kitchen is it? Is it yours or the scientist's kitchen? The scientist's kitchen. And is it a real kitchen? No. We're just pretending. It's showing the elements on that periodic table. Okay, let's go back and let's see if we can do the whole thing. Are you ready? Put your hands up and let's say all living things and non-living things. Ready? Go. All living things, and then make like a rock, and non-living things, also known as matter. And then let's pretend that's the periodic table and we're grabbing the ingredients off to make something. Are you ready? Are made up of the elements on the periodic table. So this table right here, what is it made up of? This is matter. What is it made up of? Elements. Now, the cake. Did you use all the ingredients in the kitchen or only certain ingredients?
Certain.
So that table, is it made up of all the elements on the periodic table or only certain ingredients, certain elements?
Certain elements.
Exactly. So let's go back and let's look at that big idea. Ready, set, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. All right, put a line across because now we have our big idea. Oh, turn to your buddy and see if you can say the big idea now. Ready? Get your tree ready? And go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. All right, let's put a line down here so we have our organizer. We have our introduction, our main idea. Let's go now here. What's this part? Body. And you know what? We're going to have a line down the middle here for the body. The body is going to be information about what, everybody? The periodic table. So the first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to draw a periodic table here very quickly. See how you have that on your paper? Now, when I do that, I want to ask you something about this periodic table. This periodic table is what? Is where what it is? Elements. How many elements do you think there are on a periodic table? Now remember, everything in the world is made up of elements. And how many elements, ingredients do you think there are to make up anything in the world? Tell your buddy, how many do you think there are? Ooh, 15,900. How many do you think there are? To make anything in the world, how many elements do you think there are? 1,000. How many, girls? 20,000? How many? 20,000? Okay. How many do you think? 86. How many do you think? 90. Are you ready? Go over to your organizer. Touch we're going to look over here at the periodic table. Put a 1. Put another 1. Put an 8. That's it. Everything in the world, anything. And is everything in the world made up of all 118 elements? Or is it, oh, some of these elements make up the table. Oh, some of these elements make up a rug. So are you using all the same elements to make something or just some of these to make different things? Some of them, just like when you make a recipe. So there's only 118. I need a ooh. Ready? Hand to your face and I want to hear a ooh. Ooh, that's amazing, isn't it? All right, let's go back and let's say our organizer again. Ready, set, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are about 118. What motion could I do for 118? 118. What could I do for that? Ooh, I love that. And then, oh, let's do it. Let's give Jackson a ooh. Ooh. Ready? There are about 118 elements on the periodic table. Now, quick question. With these elements that are on the periodic table, are they just thrown up there or do they have special places just like a kitchen? Okay, so I want you to do this. I want you to make a line like this and a line like that. Let's go back and let's do it again. Ready, set, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in columns and rows. In what?
Columns and rows.
See if you can say the whole thing to the person next to you again. Ready, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in columns and rows. Okay, now let's do something. Ready? Put a little box there, put another box here. Let's say I want to go into the kitchen and get some corn. I open up refrigerator or cupboard. Would I put the corn in the refrigerator? Haven't opened it yet. It's just a can of corn. Do I need to put it in the refrigerator right now, or am I going to put it in the cupboard? So I open up the cupboard and I look, and there's a bunch of cans. How do I know which one's corn? It has a, I love the way you're like, it has a label on it, it says corn. Guess what? That's the same thing the scientists said. They said, hey, we have 118 elements, which are like ingredients that make anything in the world, but what do we need to have on our chart that's like our scientist's kitchen? We need to have a label. So what they did was they have letters. So there's an O for one element. How many elements are on here, guys? 118. I'm not going to make all the boxes and show you all the labels. I'm just going to show you two. And then I have another one, which is H. I think I did it backwards. Sorry. This one goes over here, guys. H here and an O here. Okay? All right. So now, here I have H, and here I have O. This H is for hydrogen. This O is for, what do you think? Oxygen. You got it. Now, remember when we were talking about when you make something, can you just grab as many ingredients as you want, or do you need to measure them? But a scientist does not go in. They can't go in with elements and say 1 cup of oxygen. You can't do that, can you? Okay? So they measure the elements differently. They have a different way. They don't have cups and tablespoons. They have a different way that they measure them. So let me show you. Pretend that you have, let's do the oxygen first. Let's say that you're holding a bunch of oxygen. Now, I know that you can't do this, but we're just pretending, okay? I want you to take all the oxygen away. Pretend that you can take it all away until there's only one tiny unit of oxygen. You can't take any more away. There's only one, okay? So let's write that on our page. Unit. 1 unit. Put a circle with the drop box. I want you to do the same thing with the hydrogen. Pretend that you have the hydrogen. Take everything away from the hydrogen. Can't have anything left. It's one what? 1 unit of hydrogen. Iron is an element. Ugh, it's heavy, isn't it? Take all the iron away. You can't break it up anymore. It's the tiniest unit of iron. You know how scientists call those units? They call them atoms. That's what an atom is. An atom is when you measure. I have 3 atoms of oxygen. I have 5 atoms of iron. I have 2 atoms of hydrogen. Do you see that? That's how they measure the elements. So let's go back and let's do it again. Are we ready? Go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in columns and rows. The smallest unit of any element is called an atom. Sorry. Okay, turn to your buddy, see if you can say the whole thing. We will see. Go. All living things made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in columns and rows. The smallest unit of any element is called an atom. Okay, let's go over here to this box now. this is where we didn't describe it fully, but we described it enough, the periodic table. Let's go over here and use the periodic table. Let's make something, okay? So, are we ready? We're going to take 2 or more elements. So does that mean that I'm taking only oxygen? Or could I take iron, hydrogen, oxygen? Am I just taking one of these, or am I going to take 2 or more?
2 or more.
2 or more. So it can't be the same. I can take 2 or more of them, okay? So if I went into the kitchen and I made a cake, am I taking just one ingredient or many different ingredients? Okay, and in this case, they're telling us we're going to use this periodic table. We're going to take 2 or more elements. And how many elements? 118. So we're going to take 2 or more elements. Now I want you to go like this. Go like this. Okay? And say mixture. I can separate it. Now I want you to take your hands, lock them, okay? And I want you to say chemical reaction.
Chemical reaction.
Can you separate it here? No, we're having a chemical reaction. They're stuck together. Show me mixture. Show me chemical reaction. Okay, so when you have 2 or more elements, plus, and then they have a what?
Chemical reaction.
That chemical reaction, what they make, so when you take 2 or more atoms, so take 2 or more atoms off the periodic table, make a chemical reaction. Now, that chemical reaction, whatever you made there, that's called a compound. What's it called?
Compound.
So now let's go back and let's do it again. Ready, set, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in rows and rows. An element is called an atom. When 2 or more elements have a chemical reaction, that makes a compound. Okay, I'm going to call my measurements cups, atoms. Okay, I think I'm going to take 2 hydrogen atoms. Grabbing them. Now I'm going to take 1 oxygen atom. So now, do I have at least 2 different types of elements? What are they?
Hydrogen.
Now, in my direction, what's the next thing I need to have? Show me what I need. So I need to connect them together. I need a chemical reaction. And that's called H2O. Ah,
Water.
that's what?
Water.
Water. And what is water?
Compound.
And what made it?
Chemical reaction.
And what was the chemical reaction of?
2 or more.
What elements were they?
Hydrogen and oxygen.
And how many, when I made this actually ends up being 1 molecule, how many hydrogens? 2 what? 2 atoms and 1 oxygen. I'm sorry, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. And then you had a,
Chemical reaction.
and it made
Water.
water, also known as H2O. Let's see if you can say the whole thing now. Pretty cool, huh? Ready, set, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. There are 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in columns and rows. The smallest unit of any unit is called an atom. When 2 or more elements that's called a compound. For example, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom have a chemical reaction which makes the compound H2O, also known as water. Did our body of information tell about the periodic table here? So now, where are we heading? Say conclusion. Conclusion. So now, what do I need to do? Say, repeat the main idea. Repeat the main idea. But use different words. But use different words. So let me put my subject and my light bulb here. I had matter up here. What is matter? Remember when you were little, what did they call matter? All what?
Non-living things and non-living things.
Okay, so let's put that here then. Just all, maybe I'll put a tree, and then I'll put, what could I put for non-living?
Dead tree.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah. Or give me something else that's really, give me something that's really like totally non-living that you wouldn't even have. A rock. Okay, let's do that. All living things and non-living things, and then are made up of the elements on the periodic table. Maybe I could just go over here. All living and non-living things are, what's another way that I could say made up of?
Non-living.
Living and non-living is all living and non-living. Well, why don't we just say is what? Are what? All living things and non-living things are
Matter.
Let's do that. All right, now we're going to say punctuation time. Go punctuation time. Let's go over here and let's say our organizer really fast. Ready, go. All living, what word did I start with? All. Put all there, 3 lines to remember that you put what underneath, that you started with what? Capital. Okay, ready, go. All living things and non-living things. Ooh, also known as matter. So now, that's called a positive. That's where I'm telling you what living and non-living things are. So put a comma here and a comma here. Are you just, when you write, going to put matter there or also known as matter? Also known as matter. So let's do it again. Ready, go. All living things and non-living things, also known as matter, are made up of the elements on the periodic table. What's at the end? Put your period. Tell me how I started my sentence here.
Capital letter.
With what? Say the words.
100.
So did I start that off with 100? So go back. Are made up of the elements on the periodic table. Ah, there. So what word do I put here? There are 118, about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in columns and rows. So I'm finished with that sentence, so I'm going to put a period there. The smallest unit of a is called a smallest unit of a element is called a atom. So I'm going to put, what word did I start with? The. So the smallest unit of an element is called a, and you know what I'm going to do, guys? I think I'm going to put the period up here and just point like that so I can remember. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table organized in columns and rows. The smallest unit of an element is called an atom. Okay. Let's say this part. Ready? So what should I put? 2 or more elements combined together or that have a chemical reaction. It's called a, what do I do with 4? Make sure that's capitalized. What's after example? For example, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom make H2O. And after you do that, you can put a comma here, also known as water. So that's another positive. It tells you what that is. What am I going to do with the word here? That's right, 3 lines. All living and non-living things are matter. All right. So now, you know what I'm going to have you do? Keep your organizer to your side, to the side, and grab a sheet of paper and put it right next to your organizer. Okay? So when you're reading your organizer, I want you to keep it right there exactly. Exactly. And you know what I'm going to have you do? Make sure that the side that your pencil is on, see how you have your paper like this, where your pencil is? That's so that you can write. Just like that. You got that. Put your pencil in your hand. Now, you're going to turn knee to knee to the person next to you. You're going to say the whole thing, and I want you to know this. When you go to write, did you see how we put a lot of ideas on here? But did we actually write out the sentences yet? No. That's what you're going to do on that next sheet of paper. You're going to write it out. But when you write it out, can you just look at this and write it, or do you need to say it and write it? Say it and write it. So when you're writing, I want to hear you talking as you write. Okay? And if you forget what to write, what do? Go back to the organizer. Well, and do you draw the pictures now? Say no. So watch me. Just watch me like I'm doing this. I'm going to go all living things and non-living things. Okay. All living things. Ooh, all living things and non-living things. Do you see how I'm doing that? I'm saying it and writing. Do you see that? Okay. But first, you have to practice with the person next to you. If I think you can say it, then I'm going to say start writing, okay? And can you talk with each other? Yes, you can say it. I want to hear you talk as you write. Turn to each other and say it one more time. Ready, set, go. All living things and non-living things also are made of. There are about 118 elements on the periodic table that are organized in atoms and moles. The smallest unit of any element is called an atom. When two or more elements make that's called a compound. For example, two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom combine together to make H2O, also known as water. All living and non-living things are. Put your pencil up and start writing. Go. Oh, should it be quiet right now, or should I hear you talking? Let me hear you. All living things. Excellent. That's exactly what a college student looks like. You're talking as you write.